Hi, I am Bethany L.Tyson, a graduate student at South College doctoral program, and I am thrilled to be discussing tonight the communication plan as it relates to organizational structure at Songbird Music Ministries. So, there are 5 components, if we can just dive right into this, of our organizational plan. The first is the method, which I have SharePoint, Teams, the work breakdown structure, team meetings, of course, which are broken down into 3 different meetings. So we have our daily sprints, 15-minute sprints at the top of the day because we are a lean and agile company. We also have weekly meetings and then monthly or weekly check-ins, which are no more than 30 minutes, and then monthly meetings, which are an hour. Okay. And then we also have the project update status, which we're using the Kanban boards for that. Now, the components of our communication structure are the content methods, or the communication methods, which I just laid out, the communication purpose, also the content creation, who is in charge of creating content. So, and that would just depend. We're going to go back through everything and just kind of lay everything out on a line. And then also content confirmation, just confirming that you have received the content. And then I like to do the check for understanding and the contract as it pertains to content distribution. So let's start with SharePoint. SharePoint is a place where all of the documentation is stored. Who can store things in SharePoint? Anybody. Who is responsible for collecting data? Everybody. Who is responsible for collecting top-down data? That would be management. But the documents, we have student documents that are in SharePoint. We have lesson plans that are in SharePoint. All of the documentation for the organization would be stored in our SharePoint system. Now, content purpose, of course, is to just have a central warehouse for the documentation. Content creation, it could be a manager. Sometimes it is a team member, depending on what the content is and the audience of the content. And then we have content confirmation. The managers will confirm about the content. We actually do work together a lot on content creation, and it just depends on the task, right? Because certain things social media does that health and wellness coaches don't know anything about, and certain things that health and wellness does that social media doesn't know anything about, for instance. So it's going to greatly depend on the content. And then the check for understanding, we do use green, yellow, and red. Green means you understand it. Yellow means there's a email that we need to send out to get some clarification. And red means that you need to check on to Teams and Zoom if we have to, and just have a quick meeting about the content so that there is understanding and everybody understands that. Breakdown is kind of like traffic lights, right? You have a flow of traffic, you have to slow down, you have a stop. So Teams is a great way to communicate. It is a great way to communicate live. Sometimes things get lost in translations on emails. When we're on Teams, it is a great way to meet in person without actually having to be in person. We do lesson plans and lessons all across this country. I had people in Mississippi, Indianapolis, our station in Des Moines, Iowa. We have people in Florida. We have people all over who are taking lessons from us. And so just even different parts of the city, the great things about technology is that we use it. We use it to our advantage. We use it to get things done. Teams is a great way to have meetings without having to reschedule or schedule around. The great thing that I love about our Teams meetings and our Zoom meetings for that point, Zoom is our backup. But if we have to have someone be absent, they can always go into that SharePoint and click on that Teams meeting, the recording, and get the information that they need. The work breakdown structure is simply just to break down the milestones, the actions of the project, and what still needs to be done. It's just a place where we can break things down. The one thing that is really important is to always check that, and we know in our organization that we are checking the work breakdown structure so that we don't get bottlenecked in a project. Okay. Team meetings, and I feel like Teams goes with the team meetings. We do have the 15-minute sprints, and we also have the weekly meetings and then the monthly meetings. And so I feel like that is a great marriage of the technology and the meetings together. Whereas we used to just use technology to do tasks, we are integrating technology into business practices and business performance. So project updates. I am a Lean Six Sigma person. I am certified green belt, certified yellow belt, certified white belt in Lean Six Sigma. So it's really important that we use our product backlog and our Kanban boards to really operate. And the software that I am currently using is Asana. I also have studied project management with Google, and I have found Asana to be the most straightforward way to kind of deal with the Lean Six Sigma approach of doing projects. I started off using Visio. Visio to me is kind of more like a Excel spreadsheet. You're putting in the data, but it's not truly interactive, and it doesn't move projects along. You kind of have to move it along. Whereas to me, Kanban really will give you that quick look as to what needs to be done. And so the organizational communication expectations are, of course, that we remain business professional, that we try to not use jargon unless it's our specific jargon that we know as musicians. Sometimes it's easier to use signs and charts and things like that than to spell things out. Musicians just have a certain way of communicating. But we do go through musical consultants, people who have been in the industry for years and years. We have studios that we use, and all of those just different parts of depending on what project that we're doing, right? It really makes a difference in open communication and putting those communication expectations out there early so that we can all effectively communicate with each other, and so that we all know the proper way that we're going to communicate and move forward with each other. So I hope this video was helpful, and thank you so much for the time and the space. I specifically enjoyed this because it really does help me to really see the systems that we have in place and just really streamline our processes as we're growing as a company. We are a small company, but I believe in the power of technology. Technology is not going anywhere. And so we have to learn how to work with it and have it work for us. And so thank you again for this space. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm enjoying the classwork. I hope you have a great and rest of your week. Blessings.